The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
As a small biz grower, so we roll, using procurement, program, and control. As a small biz grower, so we grow, using procurement, program, and control. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh yeah, I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Business Zone with Crystal, Gilbert, and Don. And neither one of them are here today. Don is out at a conference doing her thing. Hey Alicia, she's gonna be coming back with a lot of information from her conference. And as well, Gilbert will be in very shortly. He is flying in from Vegas, and so he'll be coming straight from the airport to the show very shortly. So how has your week been? My week has been absolutely fantastic. We've had some great, if you want to come in, Alicia, you can come on around the corner. We've had some great workshops this week. I had a workshop with QuickBooks. Had a fantastic turnout, better than any turnout I've ever had for QuickBooks, so I'm very excited about that. People seem to be all of a sudden interested in getting their books in place, getting their financial management in place. I originally did the workshop in collaboration with the Business Solution Center, which is the entity that is helping the businesses on the Crenshaw Quarter make sure that they can stay substantial and viable during the construction of the Metro project. So we had about 7 or 8 businesses that came in, and so it was fantastic. The BSC, they're going to actually provide a year subscription to QuickBooks Online for the business owners, so that there's no excuse for maintaining their businesses. And so Monday we talked about cash flow and how that's the lifeblood of the company. And so this coming Monday, we're going to actually get into how to use QuickBooks Online. So I'm kind of excited about that. And all week long, people have been saying, can I come? Is it too late? So that's cool. I like that when people are engaging and understanding how important it is to maintain their finances in their business, because that you don't have a business if you don't know how much money you're making and how you're spending your money and where you're spending your money, and also creating budgets so that they can do better business. So I'm excited about that. I'll see who turns up. I am expecting another 5 people. So this is the very first time I've actually had a QuickBooks class with about 15, 20 people. It's just overwhelming. I don't even know how I'm going to handle it for the next 3 weeks. And so that's what's going on there. And then we had this amazing workshop on digital marketing and how you make revenue utilizing your website, your blog, taking the content and your expert content that you have, that you're teaching and you're using every single day, and actually engaging your audience and increasing your audience and your customer base, and at the same time making humongous amounts of money, and you haven't even sold your first product. So the guy that's teaching it, the instructor, his name is Armando Santos, and he and I are partnering up to bring this information to our community, which is just some valuable hidden secret behind the closed door. This is how everybody else is making money, but you guys don't know about it, so therefore you don't get to make any money. But he was showing me some spreadsheets that people are literally making anywhere from low end $5,000 a month to $70,000 and $80,000 a month just on ads on your website. So you guys have seen that, right? You've opened up a website that you've been searching for, and there's banner ads coming across the top and banner ads coming around the bottom and ads coming down on the bottom. On the side. So I always thought, okay, you had to click on that in order for you to make some money. And I know me, so what happens when I go to those sites and ads are coming up, I don't even pay attention to them. I don't click them unless it's something that really pertains to me. And so now I'm looking at it quite differently. Now I'm counting how many websites that I go to and how many ads actually appears on the face page of their website. So we were sitting there talking about one of his clients, and so he was opening up and he was showing me how the ads were positioned. And while I'm sitting there, we talked about this site for about 10-15 minutes. Literally about 10 ads popped up. And so then when I was looking at how many viewers he had, and so I said, so how much money are we talking about? So he says, well, say on an average that person, they're paying $10 for every position of every ad that comes on their site. And they get over 50,000 people viewing their site. And that's 10 times 50,000. That's a lot of money, and you haven't even done anything. Not a thing. You probably don't even know what's going on your website. So I was excited. So when he told me he wanted to bring it to our community, he wanted me to help if I wanted to, he wanted me to partner up with him, I jumped all over that. So because we're going to do some things. And at the same time, the takeaway is he's going to help me position my websites, which would be mine, the BusinessZone, and the Recycling Black Dollars. He's going to position our sites so that they are now generating and being monetized from that site. So that's pretty cool. So those classes are going to be ongoing every Wednesday night at the Los Angeles Urban League, which is at 4401 Crenshaw Boulevard, Suite 201, and they're free of charge, and you can come in and learn how to make your website more profitable. So that will be every Wednesday night from 5:30 to 7:30. So if you want more information about that, please reach out to me. The number is 323-447-7272. And then yesterday so this week was all about money. It is all about generating money for our small business owners. And so this week, we also had a website yesterday that was the Southern California Edge series, where we're teaching our small business owners, one, how to position their businesses in a better place, how to generate more revenue. So the workshop yesterday was generating more leads. So the young lady that was teaching that, Miss Evelyn Lambden, she came up from San Diego, and she was phenomenal. I mean, she's a marketer, and so she too was really helping you, explaining sales funnels and how you convert your leads into sales and then into money. So that was a great workshop. So this just has been a full week of learning and knowledge that you didn't have and we didn't have, sharing that with small business owners that were very enthusiastic about learning. So this has been a great week. Exhausting. This morning I was so tired I couldn't even think straight. So I had to sleep in. My brain was in overload from so much new knowledge. So what we're going to do is, starting as of today, we're going to continue this momentum of how we generate revenue for our businesses. So I'm going to give you some tips before we go to break and bring up our wonderful guests. And both of our guests are here today, who are actually talking about opportunities, one in how to generate and create business credit for your business, and the other one is going to talk about how there are opportunities that are on the continent of Africa, and they have relationships, and how we can generate income and new opportunities, not just here in the United States, but international, and that's where we should be thinking. We should be thinking global. And so I'm excited about both of them, and they're both here with some great information that they're willing to share. And people are sharing, you want to take, because not everybody's in that sharing mode. So we're going to talk about today 4 proven methods on how to increase the revenue in your business. And it really comes down to just these four. There are other ways, but if you have a brick and mortar, or you're in business and you have social media and you have a website and your website is stagnant and you don't go to networking events and you don't talk to people, you don't tell people about your business, really pretty much your business is stagnant. And I literally have been coaching businesses that they've been doing the same business for the last 30 years. They haven't changed the business model at all. They haven't embraced new opportunities. They haven't embraced social media. And so their business is really just flatlined. And that, for me, is a boring thing. I know my business has changed 4 or 5 times in the 30 years that I've been in business. And it really does. It has to change because your clients change and their needs change. And you have to be on top of what those changes are. Trends change. And what was viable 20, 30 years ago probably is not viable today. And so you probably need to look at new services, products that need to be shelved, and new products need to be developed, and new relationships need to be developed so that you can increase your revenue. So I'm going to share with you the 4 ways to increase the revenue in your business. The first one is to increase the number of customers that you are actually serving. So just think about it. If there was a 5% increase in customer retention, that could actually result into a 75% increase in customer value. That's pretty significant. But now, how do you make that happen? How do we actually create a 5% increase in your customer retention? So there's some ways you can go about doing that. One of them is to offer a newsletter. Now, I know this can be time consuming, but there are so many programs out there now, your Constant Contact, MailChimp. I use something called Flash Issue, and Flash Issue is great because I actually can just upload a picture and then I can go to they have like a reference bureau where you can just type in what it is you're trying to share. So let's say I'm going to talk about customer retention, and so I type that in, and then it brings up all these blogs that are on the internet that people have written, and then you can drag that blog over to the template and drop it. That's how simple it is. And then you can do 2 or 3 of those and then send out a newsletter, and your customers will be engaging with you on a more frequent basis. You don't want to wait for them to come in. If you have a restaurant, you don't want them just to wait to get in the mood to eat your food. You want to entice them to come in to eat your food. So you can take pictures of your menu items and put that on your social media. You can include that in your newsletter. You can create a blog. You can talk about the history and the story behind the menu or around the food, or create a story around that dish. You can also put up the recipe for that menu item. And for people that are foodies, they get all connected to that kind of stuff. And they may not be able to fix it the way you have, so then that will draw them in and pull them into your restaurant because, one, they need to taste it to see how they can actually duplicate it and replicate it for their menu when they cook it at home. So that's a great idea. And if you provide good content, your customers will know more about your business and they will become more connected to you. And really, truly, people come to your businesses and they buy what they buy because they like you and they feel like they've connected to you and they have a relationship with you. So that one right there will increase your membership, but it does take some planning. It does making sure that you're going around your restaurant taking pictures of your food, taking pictures of the guests having a great time, and then sharing that on in this newsletter or in a blog, which you can do weekly. And so let's see if that works for you. Give that a try. The next one, and I think this is probably more important even than the blog, and more important than anything I'm going to say to you today, is customer service. You want to keep and maintain excellent customer service and support. And I'm going to tell you why. For me, that is the primary reason that I support businesses. If I come in and they make me feel valuable, and that my dollars that I'm spending with them is valuable and appreciated, and I get excellent customer service, then I will be back. I'm going to go out and tell every friend that I have that they should go there and support this business because they have stellar customer service. Now, my standards for customer service is pretty high because I provide some awesome customer service for my clients and customers. And so I expect the same delivery, the same that I'm delivering, I expect that back. So I walk in, I'm looking for, and I'm very engaging, and I get to know my customers. I listen to them. So I am expecting the exact same thing from vendors that I am going to support as well. So now everybody's standards might not be as high as mine, but they should be. And if it is, and if your standards are that high, that means you're delivering that same kind of service. But I will tell you, a happy customer is likely to tell at least 3 other people about their positive experience that they've had at your business or with you, if you don't have a brick and mortar, with you. And then they're going to go on their social media and they're going to put all these glowing reviews about you. And so that could be another 10, 15, 20, depending on how many people are following them. And then everywhere they go, every time they talk, they're going to be going, wait a minute, I went to this restaurant last week and it was phenomenal. So you really need to go there, take some friends. You know what? Let's meet there next week, and that way I can introduce you to the owner of it because I really connected with them. So these are the ways that you will keep your customer retention, and people will come back, and people will feel pleasure in spending their money with you. I have the ladies that do my nails, absolutely love them. When I come in, they make me feel like I'm a queen. It is like the best pampering experience I've had in life. And so that brings me in there twice a month. The lady that I go in for my lashes, and she's awesome. She will drop everybody as soon as I walk in the door. I don't even have to call her for an appointment. I just show up, and she's there for me. The several places where I go to eat, they know me. My bank is like awesome. There's 4 branches to my bank, and I bank at one of the black banks in the city. And the 4 branches, I don't care when I go in, they all know me by my first name. It's like my cheers. And they ask about my family. They ask about friends. We engage in conversations, and we talk about their lives. So needless to say, I will never change that bank. And it was funny because a couple of years ago I was in B of A cashing a check from a client, and when I went in, they were like, well, where do you bank? And I told them where, and they were like, well, you should come to us. And so I'm standing in their line. One is a line that is almost out the door. 2, they have people over here talking to machines, so that's a no-no. And then they have tellers that are being rude to their clients. And I'm thinking, and then I look around, and this is Christmas time, right? And so I look around. Now at my bank, there's Christmas trees, there's ornaments, there's decoration, there's this warm, fuzzy, it's holiday time, everybody's happy. I go into this particular bank, I'm not going to say what the name was, and there's 1 string of lights and no Christmas tree and nothing. That's it. Just one of those stingy string of lights. Now, this bank is far more profitable than my little small bank. And I'm thinking, nah, you guys don't even have a Christmas tree for your clients. I mean, you're not even representing the fact that this is a holiday season. No Christmas candy, no a little stingy string of lights. So no, never would ever bank there. Would never move my accounts there. And that's what's important to me. So you do that, you take your customer service up to just increase it about 10, 15%, and I trust you. You will have customers for life. You will have to ask them to leave because they will stay there forever. So that one, it should be a no-brainer, but, we've all been to businesses in the city that the customer service was just really lacking. There's big corporations right now, the airlines. Flying used to be a wonderful experience. Now it's a tragic experience every time you go to the airport because the service is not there. The people are angry, like they don't want to be at work, and maybe they don't want to be at work, but you don't need to pass that off to the customers. And so that's a big issue when you go to fly. So I've narrowed my flying down to one airline right now, and that's Alaska, because the last time I flew with them, they were awesome. So that's the only place, and Southwest. So those are my two airlines that I am traveling on because the customer service is just stellar. The rest of them, you guys got some work to do, okay? Next is, and we're all guilty of this, including myself, is keeping the content on your website fresh. How many people have the same stuff on their website that has been on their website for the last 4 or 5 years when it was first launched? So you need to change it. You need to change the pictures, because what's the purpose of coming back? Unless you have an e-commerce site where people are coming there to buy, why else would anybody come to your website? Especially if they think that the information is the exact same that it's been the last time they went. So keeping your content fresh is one of the main elements that will pull in new visitors and potential customers. Keeping your content fresh by publishing a blog that reports the latest business news or the key takeaways from things that are going on in your business and hot topics that relate to your industry. This fresh content will help you keep your website populated, or the search engine optimization, which is the SEO. It'll keep it moving up to the top. So when people go in and put the name of your business in the search browser, it's going to be one of the first ones to pop up. So when you go to places like Amazon, there's constant movement and fresh content always on Amazon or eBay or any other sites that have a large following of people. Then you see new stuff. You see new things to buy, new books to buy, new music to buy. And they also reach out to you to let you know what's going on in their company. So that keeps you going back to Amazon. I'm a big shopper at Amazon. I get notices from them regularly. I do a lot of shopping with them. I'm a prime customer. I love it because my shipping is free, which encourages me to do more shopping. So these are the things that they do to create customer retention, and at the same time growing and increasing the revenues in their business. And then this last one for today, and then I have some more next week, is how to promoting your business on social media. Now, for businesses that have been around for a long time, they have this love-hate with social media. They have a love-hate with Facebook. They don't even know what to do with Instagram. They don't have a clue what Twitter is supposed to do for them. But I will guarantee you this, that there is probably not a person in the world, not even the United States, in the world, that are not on their social media platforms 4 to 5 times a day. And so you boosting and posting your content. If you're going to launch a new product, launch it on your social media sites. If you don't have social media sites, get one. And here's usually the complaint that I get about social media is, I don't want them to know about my personal business. Well, don't create a personal Facebook. Create a business Facebook, and everything on your business Facebook is going to be pertaining to your business. So you don't have to post about your children. You don't have to post about your dog or your cat or your fish. You don't have to tell them any of that. You're just telling them things that pertain to your business so that they can connect. And if they can't show up at your business, they at least know what's going on so that you become something that's on the forefront of their mind instead of on the backside and they never ever show up. So you want to do that. Instagram is fantastic for little mini videos, less than a minute. They're also fantastic for pictures. So there's a picture and a story everywhere. Every day in your business, even if your employees are just working diligent, or there's a happy moment, or a client comes in and they're ecstatic about their encounter with you, take a picture and share that picture on your social media. And that is how people will continue to engage with you. So there is no easier way to grow your customer base than providing them with value and having your customers promote your brand for you. When I started my business 30 years ago, because of the customer service that I deliver, for up until the recession, I had never advertised for my business. Everything that I did was word of mouth. Everything that someone would come in and they had such a phenomenal time, then they came back because someone told them about me. So when the recession took place, I had a difficult, because I'm teaching people to market and advertise their businesses, and I didn't have to do it. So I didn't even know how to do it for my own business. And so I had to learn how to do that. But it's been fantastic, because now I'm back at a word of mouth. I'll probably have more business than I know what to do with right now, but I'm not complaining at all. So you guys continue to come back to me. But I do have a complete referral system. So if I can't help you, I have a number of other people out there that can. But at the same time, my business is growing. There's some things that I put in place this year that even the revenue is growing, because I've changed my prices. I've recognized my value. I also have a track record. I've been tracking the progress of the clients and that I service. And so now they're happy and I'm happy, and I have these amazing goals for 2019. So this is how you move the needle on how much your business is earning and how you can do bigger and better things. You need to be always getting more education. So in order to do that, you got to pay for it. So that's part of increasing the needle on how much revenue you're generating each and every month. And then you're tracking that with your accounting software, whatever that is, even if it's a spreadsheet, long as you're putting down how much money is coming into your business and how much is going out of your business and what your future spending should be. Those are all of just the key components of making sure that you're operating a successful business. So that is the business tip for this week. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to bring up our next guest, our first guest, and we're going to talk about business credit. So we'll see you shortly.
Are you contract ready? Are you bank loan ready?
So I want to know how business ready you guys are.
Part of what we want to do is to match you up with contract providers in Vegas, the casinos.
We put together this training for the contractors in Las Vegas to assist them in becoming business ready.
You know, when you first start a small business, the thing you're shortest on is resources. So the association is actually providing the training free.
Now, Buchanan Associates, they're very well known throughout the U.S., mainly out of the California region, but they have produced so many successful companies that we felt if we brought them here to train our people, that it would allow for that growth, because we have so many public works type projects, stadiums that are going to be built, slated between now and the next 2 years, prepared to be able to do that work.
And welcome back to the Business Zone with Crystal, Gilbert, and Dawn. And neither one of them are here, but I'm here. And so we will see them next week and or shortly if Gilbert pops in here soon. So I'm pretty excited about our guest. Oh, my goodness. I met her at Dr. Rosie's Business Expo, I think, Book Expo.
Yes.
And I came in and I think our seminars were going on at the exact same time.
Exactly.
So I didn't get to see you, but I've heard so much about you from Barbara. She just highly admires you.
Oh, it's mutual.
It's mutual. Barbara's wonderful.
She is wonderful.
Because she's such a behind-the-scenes person, I'll never get to hear her on the show, but this is her way.
Absolutely.
So we get to talk about Barbara so we have to talk about her because I'll never get her in one of these seats.
Probably not.
Yeah. You know that, right?
Yes.
She's always behind the scenes. But I want to introduce you to Stephanie Ardrey, and she is the president of Blue Diamond Capital Properties. She's an entrepreneur. She's an educator. She's executive, having conceptualized and launched multiple business ventures over the last 3 decades. Wow. Her entrepreneurial and corporate experience has covered multiple industries, including real estate, finance, construction, development, consumer goods, entertainment, music, film, television, high tech, financial services, insurance, municipalities, and more. She has trained thousands of entrepreneurs nationally, is an adjunct professor teaching in the management and legal training department of UCLA, business economic department at Cal State University, LA, and the business management department at Fashion Institute Design and Merchandising. Welcome. Wow. And guys, trust me, there is so much more here that it is just amazing. So you cover a whole lot of industries.
You know, I started off, I owned an advertising agency.
Oh,
and so we have to handle a lot of clients from a lot of sectors. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So this is good.
Yeah, it's great.
This is great. So tell me more than what these words are telling me about you and how you got to be, how you've acquired all of this wonderful experience and how you got to the place where you're willing to share.
Well, it's so funny. I often tell people that my mother was an entrepreneur, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Oh, that's a good start.
I was an only child.
Okay.
So that meant that I didn't have other siblings to play with. So I found it important to play and keep myself entertained. So as a little kid, 8 and 9 years old, I was playing business. My dolls were my customers.
Oh, my God.
I knew 10 key by touch before I knew what that meant. I had every form that I could find that my mother had used in business. You needed those forms in my business. And I think the one day that she really realized that I was up to something, she came in and caught me. I had made a bunch of fake credit cards. And so she was like, okay.
Wow.
We need to talk.
Wow. Now, what was the business your mother was in?
She started off, she had been in real estate, actually. She was a commercial broker. She was doing land transactions initially, and then she moved into residential real estate and then eventually into communications.
And you know what? I think it's interesting because I come from a generation of entrepreneurs as well. I'm a 3rd generation entrepreneur. But I think real estate seems to be the one industry that children recognize that their parents are in business for themselves. Yeah, more so than any other. Because if they're leaving and going to, a store or whatever, they're not quite sure if mom and dad owns the store, unless, that's spoke of at the dinner table.
Certainly.
But real estate, because of the nature, I think, of real estate, that they're in business for themselves.
Yeah, they're hustling. And it tends to lead or bleed into weekend or what should be time off. They end up working a lot. If you're engaged with clients during the day, you tend to do your paperwork in the evening. Mm-hmm. Or if you're doing residential, then you work weekends. Mm-hmm. So you're out canvassing, attempting to create new opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's one of those businesses.
So your children really get to see that, wow, mom is working hard, or dad is working hard. More so mom, I think, in that industry than dad. So, wow, cool. So were you a real estate agent?
I was not. My career, again, started in advertising. I had no interest in going into the real estate business because that was a business that my mother was in, but I knew that I would be an investor.
Okay.
And so I had an early interest in investing and in owning buildings. That's what intrigued me about being a successful business owner.
Okay. And so those are what your degree obviously is in marketing.
My doctorate is a doctorate of business administration with a concentration in international business.
Okay.
And of course, if you go back through other, degrees, I've studied not only marketing, but I also studied management, organizational leading, because I was really interested in being able to
develop new teams and
Okay.
be able to communicate and connect with those teams.
So have you worked for corporations, or did you
Yes.
immediately?
No, I did. Actually, I had the great opportunity right out of high school to start my first business. I was looking for part-time employment, and I had been a student that worked at the Unified School District, and so I had amazing typing skills.
Okay.
Played piano, great skills. So I was overqualified for the jobs that were being offered part-time. So people wanted me to come to work full-time and forget about college, and I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And so my mom came across this opportunity for me to respond to an RFP and to take a chance and see if I'd win the contract. So my first contract was with the California State Library Association, and I helped to set up a program called Second Start Adult Literacy.
Amazing. How old were you?
18.
Wow.
And they were checking there going, wait a minute, are you legal? Because at 18, I probably look like a kid. So
but to even know what an RFP is at 18.
Right. Well,
and to apply for one and then get it, that's just, okay.
Yeah.
There are grown folks who in business for 20, 30 years that when you go RFP, they're like, what's that? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you were way ahead of the curve.
I said every opportunity I had. I said I've been working for a long time because even as a teenager, we ran the snack bar in our park, and so we would develop the menu, the pricing strategy, and how we were going to market and sell our goods, and then we would take all the money we made and we'd go on a team summer trip. So
wow.
Money and making money and looking for ways to create businesses has been an interest of mine.
Okay. And then you've actually, so you're a business coach as well.
Yeah, I ended up coaching some companies, entrepreneurs. In fact, I'm working on a new program, a hyper-growth series that's going to be about a 10-session series and to scale some companies.
Okay, and what will that entail?
So basically, I'm going to walk the companies through every functional domain of their organization from soup to nuts and assess where they are when they begin and then track how that business grows and expands. And so I'm giving them top shelf, Fortune 500 type solutions, but for businesses that have an opportunity and potential to grow.
Now, so obviously you're dealing with businesses that mid-size?
Listen, it's about the entrepreneur. If you have a vision for growth, then there's a way to map out the growth process for that business. So I tend to focus on, I say companies need one of three things. They need capital, they need to build capacity, they need additional customer acquisition strategies. So much as you were sharing earlier, those are the important things, because the only way, if you're going to build more business, you've got to either take better care of the customers you have, you've got to get some new customers, you've got to look at how you manage your processes, so that capacity building, because sometimes people go out and they increase their top line, but the bottom line doesn't increase because they're spending as much or more to address the capacity.
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
One of our, we're broadcasting live on Facebook, and so Candace, she owns a boutique. It's called All That and More, and she's got some great marketing skills, so she wants to know what type of businesses do you coach?
The sectors really don't matter because, again, when I go back to the strategy, oftentimes what the business owner should be the expert in their particular sector. I'm the expert in understanding the strategies necessary to build that business. So I don't have to be the expert in that particular sector, although I do have a background in retail, so I happen to have some expertise.
You hear that, Candace?
Yes,
she was at the Fashion Institute.
Yeah, exactly. So I started off in that business. So and then that's the thing, is I had the opportunity to work with. What was really great early in my career is, although I started off as an entrepreneur, when I went into corporate America, each sector where I worked for an organization, I had the opportunity to work for the leader in that space.
Okay.
And so what I tell people often is, when you learn how the leader operates and then you go out and replicate that in your business, you're going to have a competitive advantage over other organizations.
Right, exactly. And, and it's funny because when I have worked, and Mr. Candace says, is the 10 course, I say, what type of businesses is the 10 course? So she just explained that. Yeah. When I did work at corporate America for probably the first 15, 20 years of after I got out of school. And I did it primarily for that next level of training, because you're not going to get that in school. Right. If you're in your MBA programs or business programs, they're just going to give you the lecture theory. But you don't actually get to see what it looks like until you go into a company. But what I find for most people, when they're just there as the worker bee. But I was there observing how the company itself ran. Yes. And then I needed to know how the money actually was managed, right? So I went back and for my accounting skills and degree in bookkeeping, and I needed to see how, exactly how do you create the pricing piece, the retention piece. So I got to see that in the accounting department.
Right.
And I also got to see it from a budgeting standpoint, and from a planning standpoint, and from the visionary standpoint. So that was my PhD university was working for them. And when I had what I needed, then I came back out, and then I used that in my coaching business or at practice. At that time, actually, it was accounting and bookkeeping. And then it's evolved to where it is today. But whenever I needed a new subject and I needed to see how it was done from a corporate level, then I went in. So one of the things that I recognize from, and I'm sure you do as well, from our small business owners in our community, is they don't have those skill sets.
Right.
And when they start their businesses are on such a small level, and then they don't know how to grow it to that next level.
Absolutely.
So what is some of the advice that you would give those business owners? Or
Absolutely. So I always tell companies when we're working on either a business or a strategic plan, what you want to understand are who are the category leaders in that particular space. And so I say there's a couple ways to identify them. So you look at the Fortune 500 companies that occupy your space. You then look at the companies that occupy the Inc. space, because they're going to be a little bit smaller. And then you look in your local market at the companies that are featured oftentimes on the local business journals. And from that, when you've identified now, these are the players in the business, if you can identify a publicly traded company in your space, take a look at their 10K or, their 10Q report, your quarterly or annual reports, so that you understand how they're describing the potential of growth in that particular sector. What decisions are the larger companies making? And then identify how that's relevant in your local market.
Okay, you guys hear that? Because that's really important. Because again, we as a community, and I was having a conversation with a banker yesterday from City National Bank, and he was engaging in some meetings with some of the supplier diversity opportunities at the airport, and he was I could hear the frustration in his voice. I mean, we're standing in a parking lot and he's expressing it because he knows he's sitting at the table. And it's harder when you sit at the table and you hear the conversations, and then you come back to our businesses and you're like, oh my God, we're so far behind. I don't even know how we're going to ever catch up, or how we're going to move the needle and move the people along with the needle, because they're so resistant to that change. And we have to change.
You have to change. You have to evolve. Business is dynamic. When you think about your customers are always changing and evolving. And so in the old days, you used to think about marketing from the standpoint of, well, I'm in retail, so I need to look how other retailers operate. But that's not the lay of the land these days. You have to understand customer experiences. And so your customers are impacted by all types of organizations. And so based on their last experience, if it was a great experience, if I'm a customer and I just finished placing an order on Amazon and everything was wonderful, and then I call your business next, I'm expecting your business to match this experience that I just had at Amazon. Or if I walk into Starbucks and it was amazing, and then I turn around and walk into your business, I'm expecting your business to live up to this Starbucks experience.
Exactly. That's what I was talking about in the very beginning. And that has nothing to do with how much money the company has.
It has nothing to do with how much money the company has. You can't go know, oh, I'm sorry, sir, my business is small, I'm not Starbucks. The customer doesn't care.
Right, exactly. And it has nothing to do with it anyway.
It has nothing to do with it. It's like we just want a similar experience, and we oftentimes can't even call it out. It's just you're feeling a certain way, and then you're startled when suddenly you're not having that continued feeling. It's like, wait, what happened? What did I do?
Right, exactly. Like,
what happened?
What? In fact, in some instances, you go somewhere and you get this. I recently, this was about a year or so ago, I had gone to I want to say it was a Burger King or a Carl's Jr., and it was outside of LA city limits, and from the call box all the way up to the cashier, I was like, where am I? The customer service was just excellent for a drive up, and I'm going, where am I? And so when I got up to the front, by the time the 3 different windows, because you got to first submit the box where you order your food, then the person that's taking your food, and then finally the person that's delivering your food, right? They were all just like, I gave them an A+. And I had to say something. I was like, this was an awesome experience from the back to the front. Then I came into LA a couple of days later, and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. That wasn't the same experience. Same franchise, not the same franchise, but the same business, still a fast food place, same brand, but it was light years difference in the customer service, and so it makes a big difference.
Oh, it makes a big difference. I remember when I had my advertising agency, and a major retail bank wanted us to run an advertising campaign, and so it's always been my policy that I go and shop the customer. And at that time, again, remember, I was very young-looking executive, and
right.
I said I'll go to the branch in several different locations and notice my experience. Needless to say, when I went into certain areas, the experience wasn't very, very favorable. And I told them straight up, I said, you guys can pay us millions of dollars to run an advertising campaign, but it's really not going to matter, because the customer experience when you walk through the door is not going to cause the customers to be sticky. They'll walk right on in and turn around and walk right on out. It has nothing to do with the effectiveness of our campaign.
Right. And I don't know, a lot of times the owners don't recognize that their employees are they're the first person that you reach, and they're the first impression that you have, and if you have not trained them properly, your business is you're going to see that in your revenues.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone used to talk about the ladies running the front end, the receptionists, ladies and men, because we had a diverse team. And so that first point of contact, that's the person that I'm always making sure, are you wonderful today? How can we make sure you're having a wonderful day? Because you're the first point of contact.
You're the first point of contact. You're the first impression.
Absolutely.
It's like the book, Candace says, good stuff. Take me. But yeah, you're the first, and I don't know if there was a Facebook post that was posted this week where, and I want to say this was Florida, and a young lady was coming in the drive-thru at a taco stand, and when she got up and I don't think they had the 3-window process, it was just one, and so when they got to the window, the young lady that was working there, the employee, she was taking the order, she goes, I don't speak English, and I'm not going to take your order.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you.
and I want to say it was a Taco Bell, and so so she was Hispanic, and the girl in the car was black, and she was not being rude. She was like, I want to order, and they're like, I don't speak English. Now they could say that, and she says, well, get someone that can take the order. Nobody here speaks English. So excuse me, wow. It's at night, so they're not coming in the store.
Right.
So whoever drives up, you're supposed to service them.
Wow.
And so the young lady's like, okay, well, order number 6. Okay, it doesn't matter that you don't speak English.
Right.
Order number 6. I want the 6. And no English.
Wow. That's unheard of. But that's the type of business that should be out of business.
That's right.
Because if you don't recognize that you're offering a service to customers, then you really shouldn't be in the business of offering a business that's front-facing to customers.
Right, exactly. You should not have anything to do. You should work behind the scenes. You should do fulfillment.
Exactly. Go work in a warehouse, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you get more and more of that. It's like all of a sudden people think that I'm going to have a successful business, but I don't have to offer any type of customer service whatsoever, and we're going to spend our money.
It's so unfortunate, and I think sometimes people will give in and spend anyway, or almost begging the business to allow them to spend their money. I'm like, honey, I'm the quickest. If it's not feeling right, guess what? I can go and vote with my dollars elsewhere.
And that's what we have to look at is how valuable our dollars are, especially in the black community.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because we got trillions of dollars and we're not using those trillions of dollars in order to acquire the power that we need.
Absolutely.
That we can get from that trillion of dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we took those dollars and invested in and supported some black-owned companies that could grow in scale, that cover multi-sectors, we'd be marching to a whole different experience as a community and as business owners.
Right, exactly.
Everyone would sit up and pay attention. It would be a different day.
It would be a different day, and I think that we are at that place, but now I guess we need to know how do we, and so this is your area, how do we start helping our businesses move to a place where they can scale up to utilize the power that we do have with our consumer dollars.
And so it really is, again, kind of back to that basis. I know it sounds like I'm simplifying it, but I think sometimes people spend a lot of time making things overly complicated, and as a result, you're unable to execute when something is so complicated. If I sit up here and speak to you from a theoretical perspective, it may sound wonderful, but how does that then apply to my business? If I say, hey, take a look at your last quarterly sales and look and see what type of capital you need to address the capacity, if you need additional capacity, or take a look and see if there's any trends around your customers that you need to address. Because you either need to get new customers, you need to keep the ones you have. There's some things that you need to do if you're going to continue to grow your business. And if you need to do customer acquisition strategies, but you don't have the resources necessary, where can you identify new resources?
Okay. Yeah. So if you guys got any questions you'd like to ask Dr. Ardrey, the phone number is 323-293-3375, or you can, if you're on Facebook, you can put a question there and then I will ask her. But yeah, it's so interesting, and I know sometimes I feel like I'm leading our business owners or our community to the water, and they just won't drink, and I'm not quite sure if it's out of fear or what the hesitation is that because some of them have some incredible ideas. I do know a lot of our businesses in our community have gotten there by default. And so they don't have, we went to school for it, so they don't have the conceptual piece on what do I need to do? What are my steps? And then it just seems so overwhelming with running their business because they have everybody wearing the same hat.
Right.
In fact, I was at yesterday when we were at a seminar. Hersha says, who is Candace? Oh, okay. Please type in the guest name and her business. Well, her name is Dr. Stephanie Ardrey, Ardrey.
That is correct.
And the name of her business is
Blue Diamond Group, Inc.
Blue Diamond Group, Inc. And she's actually got a workshop
coming up. And I sure hope you'll come out and check it out.
Let me pull it up so we can get a little, because you got it right there, and I actually have it here as soon as my computer pops.
So on Saturday, September 29th, we're going to be over at Lavender Blue from 9 a.m. to noon. Okay. And we'll have a workshop on creating corporate credit.
Well, now let's talk about corporate credit, because that's a great segue into that little issue. So our businesses don't know anything about that, right?
Well, it's not just our businesses. I've seen this across the board because with my company, Blue Diamond Capital, for the last few years, we focused on assisting companies with securing their commercial spaces, so commercial brokerage and commercial finance. And oftentimes, I discovered that companies have clients that have been in business 30 years, and they never knew that there was a need to build corporate credit. But also, the thing is that they didn't realize the value of having that identity. I have people say, well, I don't want to go into debt. And I say, are you thinking like an employee? Are you thinking like an entrepreneur? Because capitalism, organizations are built on leveraging resources. At the end of the day, a CEO's job is to set the course for the organization and then find the resources that will allow you to execute that business vision. And so be they monetary, technology, human resources, all of these raw material resources, you need to have the wherewithal to
right. And you need not to use all of your great topic.
Yeah, you
need your king. And in fact, that was when I launched the QuickBooks class last Monday. I was trying to think, okay, I can, these are small business owners. What's the best way to lead into this? And what I did was I did it on cash flow and how the cash flow is so important in order to get you to a place to manage your finances, right? The financial structure of your business. And so when we were doing that, and so a couple other people were saying, one person had a nonprofit, and I said, well, who are your sponsors? She goes, I put all my own money in. No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, and even our small business, no. You build your credit, but again, they think it's their personal credit, so they don't understand the definition between corporate credit and business credit from their personal credit.
Absolutely, and I think that part of the challenge is when you go and you start your business and you're dealing often with retail-facing banks. The retail bank says, well, come on in, you can apply for a business loan, and the dirty little secret is that many of the banks are basing their decision on what you own. Oh, you have a house. Oh, that house looks like it has this much equity. Okay, we'll give you a business loan. They're not giving you a business loan based on your business. They're giving you a loan based on your personal assets. And so that's where the mistake begins. And so it's like, no,
and of course they're not going to tell you that, right?
They're not going to tell you that. No, because it's a numbers game. It's right. If I can get as many folks to give me the collateral on their house, hey, I'm going to take it. Because when you're building corporate credit, then you're building credit for an organization that oftentimes is not personally guaranteed. So then that means that you're not going to come and get my house if for some reason the business fails. And so what creditor is going to tell you that off the bat? They'd rather you say
no, because they're looking for some collateral. Right, exactly.
It's easier for them, right? But at the end of the day, if you create your credit profile, and that's where you're beginning to build your Dun & Bradstreet profile, that becomes what creditors look at to determine if your business is creditworthy.
Right, exactly. Now, how do they, let's see here, we got a couple questions. Let's see, Candace says, we don't want to be told no, so we use our own money.
Listen.
Candace.
No, it's no big deal. Sometimes you get no, and you'll be grateful that you got no because you really needed to go to another source to get your yes.
Okay, so Candace says she's going to be in your class next Saturday. Candace is at the Lavender Room September 29th from 9 a.m. to 12:30. Early registration is $49 if you do it before the 15th, so we're past that. So it's $59. And I will post where you go to register as an Eventbrite. Yes. So it's actually how to get business credit and loans.eventbrite.com. What's the phone number? You want to give me your phone number?
Sure. My office is 888-5-BLUCAP. That's 888-525-8227.
Okay, so can you tell them about Dun & Bradstreet? Because, I obviously, when I went to my university, my corporate university, all those companies had their own D&Bs, and so then I took that over to my clients, and I recall going to a church, and they didn't have their Dun & Brad, and I put it all in place, and they had some interesting issues, so their credit was like, vendors and everything, and then when I came in, and just by establishing their Dun & Bradstreet, that we were back on track within a year.
Yeah. It's like anything else, it takes time to build, but what you want to do, even for companies, oftentimes they're first introduced to Dun & Bradstreet when they're trying to do a government contract, because you have to have a D&B profile in order to contract with the government. But outside of that, they don't realize that, wait, this is the business repository. So this is where you establish the credibility of your organization. But oftentimes what I've seen is, let's back up before we create the Dun & Bradstreet profile and make sure that you have organized your business appropriately.
Right.
I can scream almost every time I see an email that's a Gmail or Yahoo account. No, that is not going to work. You're using your cell phone for... No, you're not using your cell phone for your business. Oh, you're using a P.O. box or a UPS address. No.
Right.
Let's set the foundation up correctly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And look and feel like a corporation. Because who knows, many companies that became large organizations started in somebody's garage.
Exactly.
Can we talk Apple? Can we talk the Ardrey Group?
Right. Microsoft, they all started. And the interesting thing with your Gmail, if you pay an extra $1 or $2 or whatever it is, $9, you can actually get the extension to your to your business name, and that's all it is. And then it still comes into your Gmail. If you feel more comfortable with that than Outlook, that's fine.
Yes, Gmail has a business account.
It has a business account, so you just get I think it's called the C Suite.
G Suite.
Yeah. So you can do the same thing and create that email address that is appropriate for doing business.
Exactly.
And your EIN number.
Right. So you just need your basic information and make sure that your business is set up appropriately so that your business is looking and feeling like a traditional organization, because that's really the test.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you located? How are you doing business? And the great thing about building corporate credit, oftentimes you go into a bank and you want to apply for a loan. They want tax returns. They want to see how well you've performed. They want to see your projections. They want to see the results. You can begin building your business credit as soon as you form your legal entity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to show your revenues yet. You can deal with, hey, this is what we're projecting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to create your profile from that information.
Okay. So you guys heard that. So it's not putting the pieces together for the puzzle is not difficult.
No, it's not. It's just knowing the pieces, right, and knowing in what sequential order to align them, and just making sure that your information looks and feels like a corporate organization.
Right. Candace, the phone number is 323-293-3375. You're calling into the show. I think she wants to ask you some questions.
Okay.
But yeah, it's so important for us to start doing business that way. And people coming out to workshop, $59 is nothing. You can spend that much money just going to McDonald's nowadays. But the more you learn, and this is the thing that people have to recognize, investing in yourself so that you can do better business.
Absolutely. It's important.
It's important.
Every industry that I've gone into, I remember after the civil unrest, I was asked to assist entrepreneurs. The objective was to help them develop better business plans so that they could potentially secure SBA guarantee. And the SBA does not issue loans, but they serve as a guarantor. They're a credit enhancement for the business. And I asked the question, I said, well, what's the problem? And they said, well, these businesses, the plans, they cannot articulate them, and so therefore we don't believe that they wrote the plans, we don't believe that they understood the plans. And I said, well, I am going to break down business planning, and it will be so well understood that you will never, ever, ever again have an issue when somebody says, give me your business plan. It's like, oh, yeah, I got that.
Right. And in my earlier career, people didn't want to do the work, and they're like, okay, well, you write my business plan. And I did that for a couple of people. And then the last time I did that, and now I do it differently. Now we're going to do this together. Because what happened was I wrote a plan for a company that was starting a real estate franchise. And so I did all the research, and so it was like, I mean, just the plan was on top. Even the person that had been in the industry for some number of years, she was going, wow, I didn't know this. I mean, the future trends, everything, it was there. It was pretty, right? And then they went to go explain it to somebody. And they're like, and I tried to sit them down so we could go over it page by page, and they didn't want to do that, right? They wanted to pay someone to do that. And so after that experience, and of course now they had to have the person that they were trying to get to invest in their franchise to call me. I'm not part of the business. I'm just the vendor that you use to write the plan. So of course that didn't look good, right? So after that, I have made that my that's on me. The onus is on me. So now, look, if we're going to do this, we're doing this together. Absolutely. So I'm going to give you the questions. You're going to answer the questions. We're going to go through those questions. I will help with the research, and I'll do the research, but then you're going to write it. It's going to be in your vernacular, your words, so that when you go to articulate it to whomever it is, you're not speaking my language, you're speaking your language. So they understand that you put the time and the effort into your business.
Absolutely, because guess what? Most people think that the business plan, I'm writing it because some investor asks, or I'm trying to get loan. No, your business plan is supposed to be a roadmap.
Right, exactly.
And so guess what? One thing that I know for sure is if you've prepared a business plan before you've executed that particular plan, the plan is faulty at day one because the plan is based on historical data.
Right.
So when you get out there, you have to have the ability to adapt the plan to reality.
Right, exactly.
You can project all these different things.
Yeah, because projections are cool, right? Yeah, but the actual, the first day you have, the customers don't come in, all them 25 customers that were coming in every day. Exactly. And those first, not even one of them came in. Now you're like, oh my God, what? And that goes on for the first 2 months. Yeah, now it's just, it was projections, because you can't, unless you're doing the other pieces to get those 25 people in, and then going back and a lot of people, they write it, once they get that business plan, it's like writing a book, like, whew, got that done. Right,
on the shelf.
Right, I'll never have to look at that again. and then comes a crisis.
Okay.
Which you addressed in the business plan.
Right.
But you didn't go back to read the business plan, so you have no idea how to address it in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have to realize, and I tell them right up front, that it's a walking, living, breathing arm of your business.
Absolutely. It would be the same thing if we were planning a trip. Say we're planning a family reunion.
Right.
When are we going to have the family reunion? Where are we going to have the family reunion? Who's going to attend the family?
Right.
How are they going to? It's the same thing. That's really all your business plan is telling folks what you plan to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, where you're going to do it,
and if there's a risk involved, how I'm going to deal with that risk.
Absolutely.
When it actually is presented to me, and you're at the family reunion, Uncle Harold going to show out, so you got to have a backup plan, right, to usher Uncle Harold out the room when he starts to show up.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but that's the same thing, and they just think, they just want me to have and they come to you and they tell you that. They say, I need a business plan. No, before you even started your business, you probably should have had that.
Yes.
And then you should go back and review it like every 6 months or so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I tell people oftentimes, listen, I know when you're running your business, you're head down and you're running straight ahead, but a good thing to do is to spend a weekend, maybe before you do your quarterly filings, if you're doing quarterly filings, and just look at how your business performed the last quarter.
Yeah.
And compare that to what you projected in your plan and see if you need to pivot, because sometimes you just need to make some pivots, in the business. But if you're not paying attention and you're just running headstrong, you might be running in the wrong direction.
And then so many of our business owners are like, well, it's only me. Well, first of all, we don't want to continue to be only me. Absolutely. And if you can't, if you can't afford to hire, then what you want to do is be a partner with people that can show up the strength, the weaknesses that you have, so that you're still operating because you have resources.
Absolutely.
But if it's only you wearing all the hats, and you're never getting to that position where it won't only be you, and you can have a staff to do the clerical stuff because you're more valuable than that. You know, that's fine when you first start your business, but at some point you should be able to elevate up so that you're the one out on the street doing the bring the business in or whatever it is that you do best.
That's why you need capital.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes one of the major mistakes people make is their pricing strategy is not consistent with the reality of what it costs to deliver on that product or service because they never thought about their staff and team. And so people say, oh, you know, Stephanie, you making it so hard, you making us look like a real corporation. And I said, if you don't stub in the positions and the salaries and the cost to build out your team, guess what? You'll never be able to build out your team.
You'll never be. And you know, it's so interesting. The other day I was looking at, what was I watching? I was reading something on Nextdoor or Yelp. I think it was Nextdoor, you know, the neighborhood app. And so there's a new restaurant that just came into the Crenshaw up on Slauson. And so somebody was complaining because they are adding on an additional service fee that takes care of, and they tell you when you ask them about it. I think now they tell you beforehand, but I think this particular person wasn't told beforehand. It was after they had eaten, and they were saying that it was additional service fee that was added to take care of their employees' health insurance and wages. And so, and of course the feedback back and forth, I'm thinking, no, that should have been incorporated in your price.
Absolutely. But see, that's the mistake. And that's what happens. I said, you know, this pricing thing is more important than people think.
Yeah. Because if I come in there and you're telling me after I've eaten.
Right. You can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tip. Yeah. Okay, but I'm assuming that you didn't put that in. If your staff is how you deliver your food.
Absolutely.
So their wages and their benefits, that should be incorporated, and it should be broken down per item that you're selling so that you're getting that. You don't have to add an extra fee because now I'm like, what's this, bait and switch? You know, that's a little deceptive.
It causes customers to become disgruntled.
Right, exactly.
Because if you just tell me up front what the price needs to be, I'll pay the price.
Right. And if I don't, then okay. But don't tell me after I've eaten.
Right.
And definitely don't add any extra stuff. Right. Just incorporate. If your food is good, the customer service experience is excellent, the ambiance is excellent, I will come in and probably pay $12, $15 for a sandwich. If all of these other, because when you eat food, you're coming for the experience. It has nothing to do with the food. It has to do with the whole experience.
Yes.
Because I can make a sandwich at home myself.
Absolutely.
I mean, a turkey sandwich is the same at my house as it is at Subway. Right? It's just turkey meat. But it's the experience.
Yeah.
And so don't come and do that. So people really need to recognize, So pricing is absolutely right. I think I'm going to do some workshops on that, webinars on exactly how you price your product.
Absolutely. And it's really understanding those costs. So it builds on the training that you're doing, even with the QuickBooks. When you break down what are my fixed costs and what are my variable costs for my business or to produce each of the particular products or services that I'm offering. And then a lot of times what people forget is you have to build in profit as well.
Yeah, your 10, your 15, 20%,
make sure
whatever
all
it is.
of those things are factored in. And then that's how you then determine what your real pricing structure should be.
And I always find when I do workshops and QuickBooks and also business planning workshops, people are basing their price on their pocket, not on their customer's pocket. Let's see. Candace says, yes, that's illegal, and I do not play that 3%. Yes, please do the pricing webinar. I certainly will. But and now that's how I teach QuickBooks. It's really more accounting, because a lot of times I think that's what deters them from using a software is they don't understand the accounting piece. And so when I break it down in, okay, these are your costs to operate your business. This is a cost to be able to hire your employees. I've had clients that we've worked up to them being able to hire. Is so that this is what we need to do at the end of the 6 months we review, end of the year we review, we do an overview. Okay, this is where you are, and been able to increase their revenue by 10 to 15% each year based upon that.
And also it helps to be able to look and audit to see if you can reduce your operating costs.
Yes.
Because in essence, in order to increase your bottom line, you don't necessarily always have to increase your top line.
No.
It's looking at your operational processes and the expenses, the money that you're losing there. So when I go in and do a business audit, I start, well, let me find the money that you already have.
Right, exactly. And I have I have a client that we've switched over. I was doing her bookkeeping and then we've kind of done a switch. So now I'm teaching her how. She wanted to know how to use QuickBooks Online. And when she did that, she realized, like, you find nowadays, because everything is online, right? A lot of your products and software and tools you use are online. So you have a subscription here, subscription here, subscription here. And when she started processing her own, she's like, oh, slash that, I'm not using that. Because you might have set that up a year ago and realized you got 2 accounts. I just realized today, I was like, I have 2 Hootsuite accounts. That means get rid of both of them because I'm not even using them anymore. So being able to go back and review where your money is actually going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And folks that want to preserve their resources, pay attention to that. You pay attention to everything.
Right,
because it all contributes to your business. Yes.
This has been quite informative, and our guest over here is saying it's absolutely wonderful and great information. And they're going to come to your workshop. So can you tell them again about your workshop?
Absolutely. It's going to be Saturday, September 29th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at Lavender Blue. Lavender Blue is 3310 West Manchester Boulevard in Inglewood. And for more information, you can call 310-498-3783.
Okay. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been wonderful, and we have to do some stuff together.
Can't wait.
That would be fantastic.
Can't wait.
And as well, I think I have something on the 29th, but I'm going to check my calendar and see if I can at least stop by.
That'd be wonderful. I'd love to see you.
Yeah, we'd love to. And then I'm going to edit the video this evening, and I'll send it over to you. You can pop that up on your website so we can draw people in, and I'll make sure that I blast it out as well.
Wonderful.
So that we can get your room full.
We love that. We love that.
Because this is what our businesses need to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I actually... you sent this to me. I'll make copies because I have my QuickBooks class on Monday.
Okay.
And I have the digital class on Wednesday. So I can make sure that everybody there gets a flyer and come on out.
Oh, that'd be so wonderful. Thank you, Crystal.
Not a problem. Got to help the sisters out.
Absolutely.
If anybody else is out here helping our businesses, we need to make sure everybody knows who you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
All right. So we'll be right back. Our second guest is here, and he's going to tell you about some opportunities that we can do business in Africa. So I'm kind of excited about that. All righty.
Excellent. Are you contract ready? Are you bank loan ready?
So I want to know how business ready you guys are.
Part of what we want to do is to match you up with contract providers in Vegas, the casinos.
We put together this training for the contractors in Las Vegas to assist them in becoming business ready.
When you first start a small business, the thing you're shortest on is resources. So the association is actually providing the training free.
Now, Buchanan Associates, they're very well known throughout the U.S., mainly out of the California region, but they have produced so many successful companies that we felt if we brought them here to train our people, that it would allow for that growth because we have so many public works type projects, stadiums that are going to be built, slated between now and the next 2 years, prepared to be able to do that work.
Excellent. Are you contract ready? Are you bank loan ready?
So I want to know how business ready you guys are.
Part of what we want to do is to match you up with contract providers in Vegas, the casinos.
We put together this training for the contractors in Las Vegas to assist them in becoming business ready.
When you first start a small business, the thing you're shortest on is resources. So the association is actually providing the training free.
Now, Buchanan Associates, they're very well known throughout the U.S., mainly out of the California region, but they have produced so many successful companies that we felt if we brought them here to train our people, that it would allow for that growth, because we have so many public works type projects, stadiums that are going to be built, slated between now and the next 2 years, prepared to be able to do that work.
Okay, and we are back. Now we have our second guest, and I'm kind of excited. Al, you've been diligently working trying to get us to do business with Africa.
Well,
so tell us where you are on that, and first tell us about you and your organization, because I didn't pull up your bio.
First off, the organization that I'm associated with is called the Pan-African Global Trade, and it's called the Africa USA Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And it was founded in 1992, I believe, or thereabouts. And you can go to the website, africausa.org, and that gives you a sort of a brief historical sketch of how we got started.
Mm-hmm.
But it was founded while Tom Bradley was still mayor of L.A.
Okay, well, that's a long time ago.
It was founded primarily to begin the process of changing the relationship that the city of L.A. and the state of California have with the African continent in the area of trade and investment. It's not as though either the city or the state of California never had any relationship with Africa, but that the activity that existed compared to what was existing with say Asia and Europe and South America was not as much as it could have been. So the chamber came on board to be an advocate for that activity.
Okay.
And since that time, we've established what we're going to be talking about today, which is the Pan-African Trade and Investment Conference. It's an annual conference that we've been doing since 2010.
Okay.
And the goal of the conference primarily is to provide an ongoing platform, if you will, where we can bring people together and begin to talk about trade and investment, but look at it from what's called a bilateral perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is we're looking at not only how we as African Americans can trade, do business in Africa, but also how Africans can do business in the U.S.
Okay.
And we found that both is needed. We can't assume that just because Africans want to do business in the U.S. that they necessarily know how to do it. And we also can't assume that just because we as African Americans want to do business in Africa that we know how to do it. Because what we found to be true is that there's a learning curve that needs to be happening on both sides.
Okay.
So what we've been doing primarily through the conference has been trying to, if not decrease the curve, but make it at least provide much information as possible so that people will actually be able to trade effectively. That's the important thing, doing effective business.
So where are we in the process? Because I know
we still got a lot of work to do.
We still got a lot.
Tell you that right now.
and that is because.
Well, it's because people on both sides tend to don't have realistic expectations about what the opportunities are, and then the other problem you have is that people on both sides don't prepare for the opportunity.
Okay.
So one of the things I was doing when I first began to work for the chamber was I was taking people to the continent to look at business opportunities.
Okay.
So I took trade missions to Nigeria, I took them to South Africa, I took them to Ethiopia, I took them to Uganda, I took them to Ghana, and we would sit down and we would introduce them to potential business partners, potential business opportunities. And people would have a great time. They would love to go back to the continent. They'd come back, but nothing would happen beyond the mission.
Okay.
And at that point, I began to realize, wait a minute, I got to stop. There's a problem here. And the problem primarily was people needed to have some basic information about how to establish what I call a trade program within their business.
Okay.
As part of your business activities, what you need to do is actually establish a separate division of your program, of your business, whatever it is that deals particularly with international trade.
So that's totally, so it's separate than doing business here in the United States.
Yeah, because what you're focusing on is how it's one thing to think about how I'm going to market my business in the U.S., but it's another thing to think about how I'm going to market that same business in Asia or in Africa or some other parts of the world.
Okay.
And what you've got to do is begin to think globally as opposed to thinking domestically about how you're going to do what you're going to do.
Because there's costs involved, right?
Yeah,
that you would not have doing business here.
Yeah, for example, you got to get on an airplane.
Right. So you can't travel. Do it. You just can't do it sitting here.
Right.
You actually have to go over there to establish the relationships.
Which means you got airplane fees, you got hotel, based upon the relationships that you established before you went. You have travel expenses while you're there, meals, all these kind of things come into play when you're thinking about beginning the process of establishing a business relationship with someone in another continent.
Okay.
And a lot of it is not a quick deal. I mean, you can't go over there and expect to come back necessarily with a trade deal on one visit. Okay.
But I assume that people do.
Well, it happens. It has happened. I'm not going to say that they don't.
Okay.
But you don't want to expect it to happen on the first visit.
Okay.
Unless you've done some serious homework and you've got somebody on the other side waiting for you that's good to go and that your product or service is something they desperately need. But you've got to have done a certain amount of promotion and also you've got to do a little bit of research on the person you're going to be dealing business with in order for that to happen on a first time around. Normally it doesn't happen that quickly. You know, you don't sell normally on a first trip. You may have to go back again.
And we're talking large volume, right? We're not talking that someone's gone from another country has come to your website and you're selling whatever, you're selling hats, right?
It doesn't necessarily mean it's not about volume even, because the volume is something that increases over time.
Okay.
What you need to do is establish a sound, viable business relationship.
Okay.
And you got to understand how business is done in the country where you're going.
Okay. And understand the culture.
It's not necessarily cultural issues. There's banking issues. There's trust issues of trust. All that has to be in play.
Okay.
And you have to feel very comfortable about the business relationship you have or the potential that exists before you actually want to go in there and try to close the deal.
Okay.
Now, so that's just some of the basics, and I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself, what I wanted to talk about today. But anyway, the one of the things that we're trying to do is help people begin to think in terms of three essential things when they're going to set up a trade program.
Okay.
One, they need to be able to do what we call international marketing research.
Okay.
And they want to be able to actually do research on the country where they're going, find out about the cultural issues, find out about political issues that are happening in that country, what type of banking system they have in the country, what's the business activity in the country, and what are the potential that exists for them to either find a buyer or a partner in that country. Okay, because that's what you're looking at. Someone who you can partner with on doing business there, or someone who's ready to buy whatever it is that you're trying to sell, whether it's a good or a service.
And are there processes in place that can help guide you to make those?
There are processes in place and there's resources in place. Like the Department of Commerce will provide you with a country profile that will give you an idea of what exists in that country at all the levels that I've just talked about. But there also are people who are experts in this and who can help you.
Okay.
And at our conference we're having this year, we actually have an expert coming from Cal State San Bernardino, who is an expert on doing international trade research. Her name is Sarita Jackson.
Okay.
And she'll be at our conference this year to talk about just what I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
And she is very excited and anxious to be there for that very purpose. So having her there, having her coming to the conference and meeting her will be a good way to get started to find out some of the things you need to be doing to do research. Okay. It's possible that we may also have a rep come from the Department of Commerce. We'll see how that works out. But in either case, he doesn't necessarily have to come. If people know that the Department of Commerce is available and they have an interest, we can hook them up with the Department of Commerce so they can get that type of research. The other thing they need to be familiar with is what we call trade finance. There's a cost associated with doing international trade, and normally you're talking about the cost of either primarily shipping your product from point A to point B, but also the cost associated with promoting your product. And I mentioned some of the logistical issues. You have to having to go there and all that, but you also want to make sure that you are able to say once you're able to actually close a deal, that you're able to pay the cost of doing the transaction. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So is that like a tax or?
Well, there's a lot of things involved in it.
Okay.
It could be custom fees.
Okay.
There could be shipping fees.
Okay.
There's there's insurance issues. All right. Now there's an excellent resource for that as well, and normally it's the XM Bank. The XM Bank.
Okay.
And what the XM Bank's job primarily is to actually help people finance a trade deal once the deal has actually been closed. So,
okay.
So let's say, for example, you go to the continent or any place else in the world for that matter, and you actually have sold a product to company A.
Okay.
And you have the invoice, right? And then the company said, I want so much of what it is that you offer, and I've got it in writing, and they in fact have provided you with the money that you need to actually begin to make the shipment. Okay?
Right.
You give that to the XM Bank, and they validate that you've done it, and they will basically provide you with a loan to actually do the transaction.
Oh, okay.
Now, what will happen though is that loan will come out of the final payment that you get. So, in other words, if you are actually able to make a profit, say, let's say $10 million off a deal, part of that money will go to the XM Bank to pay for the loan that they just gave you.
So again, that's part of the cost.
But that's part of the cost. Okay. But the nice thing about the XM Bank is they will help you with everything that you need to do to actually do the transaction, whether it's letters of credit, that type of thing. They're very good at helping you source that and get that done.
Okay.
So the nice thing about the XM Bank is that it is still here. Bush tried to get rid of it. I mean, not Bush, but our 45, our current president. I can't even say his name.
I know.
But
right now, he don't want he the only one wants to do anything international. He don't want nobody else have that opportunity. So that's where we are with him.
Thank God we were able to get them funded this year. And I believe they've got enough funding to keep them alive and around for the next 4 or 5 years or so.
Okay, until we get rid of him.
So, yeah, exactly. You got that right. But the last part of this we want to make sure that people are aware of is something we call global logistics. In other words, what is the best way to move product A to product B? Do I do it shipping? Do I air freight it? And then what's the cost of either one of those? And sometimes, and one of the issues with Africa is that that's always can tend to be a very complicated situation based upon what it is you want to do.
Okay.
I know a guy that actually is very good at doing shipping, and it may take him, say, 2-3 months to fill a crate full of, a container full of the goods that he wants to ship to the continent. And he'll spend actually maybe 2 or 3 months actually putting in that container, the stuff he's going to ship, and then before he closes it, seals it, and then he'll put it on a ship, and he just called me the other day and said, I'm getting ready to ship the container.
So this could take 2 or 3 months.
It took him 2 or 3 months.
And then how long does it take to get it to the other side?
Well, it depends upon how the shipping, the carrier that you use. But you figure that it's probably going to take at least a month for the shipment to get to the continent.
Okay.
Then when it gets there, you got to make sure that you've taken care of everything on that end with the customs and everything else, so that you can actually go to the crate, break the seal, get in there and get your stuff out. But then you either got to be there when it gets there.
So you got to send it, and then you got to fly over there and wait and be there when it gets there.
When it gets there, or you have to know somebody you can trust who can handle it when it arrives. Okay. So you're going to get a bill of lading that's going to basically tell you okay, this is what we're shipping. This is how long it's going to take for it to get there. It's like when you get an airplane ticket, right?
Right.
And it says, okay, you paid to go from here to here. Okay, it's going to take you this long to get there.
Right.
Etc. This particular will happen. So you'll know pretty much about approximately when that ship is actually going to get to the continent, or wherever you're gonna. So you can plan your trip there based upon what you've paid for to get the product from A to B. So there's a lot involved in it. Now there are people and classes here on this side of the water that can help you with that. You want to talk with either the LA World Airports or the Port of LA about services that they currently offer to help either train people or help people.
Oh, so they do have programs and training ongoing?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So you want to call them. You can, in fact, the LA World Airports actually has a logistics center. That is there that you can call and talk to, and they will talk to you about air freight and the cost involved, and based upon where you want to send the stuff, they can give you a pretty good idea of what you need to do to plan that. The Port of LA has a really good marketing program that helps people with shipping, both shipping and receiving goods from other parts of the world. So that's always good to know. So those are the kind of things you need to be thinking about.
So now at your conference that you do, and this is how many years have you been doing this?
Well, this is our eighth. It's our 8th year. It'll be our 8th year.
Okay.
And we actually have been through a lot of changes on this conference, but we had a very interesting thing happen this year.
Okay.
This year, we received a serious invitation from Cal State Dominguez Hills to come back to Dominguez Hills to do our conference.
Now, from what I recall, you're doing it in 2 places, though.
Yeah, we're doing it at the Leimert Park Village.
Okay.
And that's because we're trying to establish the Leimert Park Village as an ongoing venue for doing the conference.
Okay, that's cool.
And but this year we received an invitation to come back to Cal State Dominguez Hills. Now, we did our first 3 conferences at Cal State Dominguez Hills. That's where we began the conference.
Right, I remember because I think I came to one years and years ago. We were there.
Yeah. And the nice thing about the return is that we have, as a result of our successes in the past, because Cal State Dominguez Hills has always had a presence at all of our conferences. They've either sent a rep or had someone speak at our conference every year. Okay. So, but they had a change of administration. So from the time that we did our last conference in 2003. They had a new administration, and they didn't get it. Let's put it that way. They just didn't get while we were there.
Okay. While y'all were there, huh?
The new administration understands.
Okay.
And as a result, and it's an African-American man who has actually taken over as the president of the college.
Okay.
So in fact, I ran into him 2 weeks ago in Irvine at the California Black Chamber of Commerce annual conference. And I'm walking and I bump right into the president of Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Well, there you go.
So I said, hey, that's good to see you because I'm getting ready to do a conference at your campus in 3 weeks, right? Okay. And he said, I'm glad to meet you because I really want your type of activity at our campus. I said, well, go on. You just go on. I said, now that's a
change from the year before when they didn't even want me.
So that's nothing but God, right?
Right.
So what happens is, as a result of being Cal State Dominguez Hills, we now have 4 departments that are working with us.
Oh, that's
to do
phenomenal.
The conference.
Okay.
So the Merv Daimler Institute is going to be involved, and they're actually developing. Each conference is developing a component. Each department is developing a component of the conference. So the Merv Daimler Institute, and Anthony Samad is over there now. He's running that. Well, he's going to do an urban issues breakfast forum at that campus on the first day.
Oh, fantastic!
In the morning.
Okay.
All right. So he's going to do something.
And he's done a number of topics on this, right? In the past, when he was doing his urban issues solo.
Right. Right. But he's going to we're going to start the conference office with the breakfast forum at the campus on the first day in that morning.
Okay.
All right. And then we have presentations that are going to be put on by the Africana Studies Department, by the College of Business Administration and Public Policy, and by a new school that just started there called the Innovation Institute, which is an interesting institute because the gentleman who runs it is actually going to do what you would call a business pitch showcase. And he's going to feature 10 businesses who are going to do business pitches with the idea of attracting investment into their businesses. So he's going to talk about business investment. He's going to have a panel talk about business investment, and then that panel is actually going to be the panel that will judge the pitches that will follow afterwards.
And how did you guys identify these particular businesses?
Well, he identified.
Oh, he identified.
He selected all of them. In fact, but he also told me that I could send some, so I sent about 3 to him.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
But in the future, we're going to expand it, and the goal will actually be to have it's like they do the Shark Tank.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to grow that. It's going to actually become an annual event. We were actually going to have investors there, ready to give money to people
fantastic.
who are good to go. And the nice thing about the institute is they will prepare them to make the presentations.
Oh, okay.
That's what the job is to prepare them. So what we'll get an idea from the competition is the showcase is exactly how the Innovation Institute will work to prepare people to actually make their pitch. And it's interesting because Gary Polk, who's the director there.
Yeah, I met Gary. Actually, Gary sat on a panel. We did the Youth Entrepreneur, the Biz Camp that I do.
Right.
And he was one of the judges last year.
Right. But he's very good at teaching people how to do this. Plus, he's got banks and investors in his hip pocket that are good to go.
Okay.
And he's inviting some, but I also recommended about 2 or 3 that he added to the panel as well. So that's the important part of what.
That's phenomenal. That's some good stuff right there.
But it's really good stuff. But the other thing that's come up that is even better is that this year the California Legislative Black Caucus has signed on to be part of our conference.
Oh, that is fun. So
they're
now
sending a rep to the conference. But they're doing all this because they want us to do the conference in Sacramento next year.
Okay.
All right?
So you've grown up.
So this
finally
year,
is happening, right?
So this year, on Monday, I got to go to Sacramento. They're going to have the first annual Pan-African Trade and Investment Week in Sacramento.
Well, congratulations.
Next week.
Wow.
All right, leading up to their conference. So they're going to have a special planning session in the state capitol in room 126 on Monday morning. They're going to talk about the conference and they officially inaugurate Pan-African Business and Investment Week for the state of California.
Well, then that tells me a couple of things. That obviously it has definitely having conversation about it.
Yeah. And
there is a movement to make this happen. Well, that's what that kind of tells me.
Well, no, that's not kind of. That's real.
That's real.
Now, but the important thing about it is that we actually now have a lobbyist working for us in Sacramento.
That is fantastic.
And Mel Agassar, who I'd known Mel when I used to work for Diane Watson. I was her chief of staff in L.A.
Okay.
Mel was Dave Roberti's chief of staff in Sacramento. Okay. We hadn't seen each other in years.
Wow.
And so when I went down to Sacramento, somebody said, "You need to come by and meet this guy, Mel. He says he wants to help." We looked at each other and we almost fell out laughing. Okay. So what's happening is that I've hired him as my lobbyist.
Okay.
And he's now working Sacramento for me. And as a result of his work, not only do we have the California Legislative Black Caucus on board this year, not only are they hosting us in Sacramento next year, but the governor's office is sending a rep from their Business and Economic Development department to talk to us about, get this, EB-5 programs.
Oh, wow.
Now,
in fact, the same time you were here, and we do need to be, in fact, it's so funny you said that, because Mike Jones, who used to be the chamber.
Right.
In Crenshaw,
right?
We were just having a conversation yesterday. He was like, "We need to pull together some people and talk about EB-5."
Well, guess what? He's going to make a presentation at our conference in Leimert Park about the EB-5 program, the state's EB-5 program.
Okay, and when is that going to be?
That's going to be on the 28th. 28th.
Okay.
But he's also coming to the conference on the 27th.
Okay.
All right? Because I spoke to him just earlier this week, and he's very anxious to come. Now, the good thing about this is that you're the one that got me to come to the EB-5 meeting,
EB-5, because I thought it just seemed like so easy, right?
Right. And so you invited me to the show. I said, "Oh wow, wait till I go to Chris to the show."
Oh yeah. That was kind of back there when but I don't know what happened to it.
But the bottom line is the state has an EB-5 program.
Okay.
All right, and they also have a foreign direct investment program. The problem is we don't know nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the good thing about it is that he's coming to talk to us about it. Joe Razan has an EB-5 program.
Oh, over at the Vermont Slauson.
Right.
Okay,
right.
He ain't told nobody about that
exactly.
either.
Well, we invited Joe to come to Gilbert, along with this guy, to talk about EB5.
Okay.
And we're talking about what is happening now. We're not talking about no future. We're talking about what exists right now.
Okay.
Okay. In addition to that, we've already submitted a proposal to our lobbyists for how to actually create a formal trade investment program with the state of California and Africa and the Pan-African and the Caribbean, and that will focus on Pan-African trade and commerce. Okay?
That'll be fantastic.
So we've already written it up, we've submitted it, and we're praying that if Gavin Newsom gets in as the new governor, that we'll have it there in time to give to his new person that comes in, and then we'll use Mel to kind of promote it and get it rolling. But we're going to actually start it on Monday, because we're going to get the ball rolling on Monday to get it on record that we're doing this. Okay?
Wow. Congratulations, Al. Your work is all working. Is more?
Then we're going to do a conference in Sacramento next year.
Fantastic.
Okay. And the California Legislative Black Caucus will host us. So this year is preparing for next year.
That's fantastic.
So it's very important that we get people out this year to learn about what we're going to be doing not only this year, but also what's coming up next year.
Okay.
All right. And prayerfully, if we can just get that man out of the White House, because we actually received requests for involvement from people from the continent. We couldn't get a visa for any of them to come.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
All right.
Because he's just got everything. I mean, did you hear him yesterday? He wants to put a wall. Now he can't even do in America.
Right.
The wall in Mexico.
Right.
So he now wants to put a wall across the whole sub-Saharan desert.
Oh, she's crazy.
So that the Africans can't come up to the whole entire continent of Africa.
But that's impossible. He can't do that. It's impossible. The continent of Africa, that wall would be 3 times the size of the U.S.
Right.
Now let's be real, America. Listen to me. Get this man out of office.
Right.
He's insane.
He's insane.
He is totally out of his mind, and the only people that are falling for that are his followers. All right.
Which is about 30%, which is actually getting smaller.
Right.
But I think unfortunately, we had to get to this place so people would understand the realities of what goes on when it comes to a small percentage in America, which are these old white men that have been around forever and ever, that they still have that colonial mentality, right? And so I think this is uncomfortable as all hell, but I think this is the only way we can get it exposed.
At least people can see it for what it is.
They can see it for what it is, and so they're not taking our word for it.
Exactly.
That is our imagination.
Exactly.
Now they can see it for really what it
really is.
But this is phenomenal. So let me ask this question.
Yeah.
How does Recycling Black Dollars get involved?
Well, this is what we want to do.
And the Business Zone.
The important thing is that the fact that we have a relationship with the California State University, Dominguez Hills, means they have access now to the Innovation Incubator.
Okay.
All right. That they can be involved in that as a training. To train them and actually doing business pitches for investment purposes.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Now, the other part of this is that we're working on getting the Africana Studies Department to actually create a international trade program as part of its programming through that department. We want to actually have a college where people can go and be trained in this. And they don't have to necessarily do it as 4-year thing. They can just do it as a program where they can do it as an elective, where they can just offer it as something that a business person can just come to the college and take it like they would go to do a small college, a small
like
workshop.
if they were going to a community college and take a certificate type program.
Exactly, and they have certificated programs at state colleges, but nothing that focuses on international trade. They attempted it in the past at Dominguez Hills, but they didn't last, and I'm thinking the problem primarily because I knew the instructor, and the focus that the instructor had, I don't think allowed a small business owner to really get involved at the level in which they needed to. The main thing that most people who say, for example, or who own a small business, or maybe even being sole proprietors, is that they have to go in with understanding of how it works, and then they have to scale it down to their level of operation.
Right.
Because there's certain things that you can do literally as a person by yourself over the phone, if you're going to do a small transaction. No problem. But when you start talking about large transactions, then you got to have yourself, you got the institution place, you got to have some financiers backing you up, or at least a bank backing you up, so you know you got some money that people will give you if you need to do a large transaction. You got to have your logistics in place and plan. You got to know how you're going to get product A to product B. You got to have your financing in place. You got to have your insurance in place. All that's got to be in place, and you have to plan for that and have it in place, hopefully before you do the transaction.
Right, exactly. But you got to understand what it is you need, right?
Exactly.
So that course would be great.
Yeah.
But I think even from our standpoint, even businesses knowing that they could. So you almost need that introduction done on our level, right?
Exactly.
So
But see, recycling back dollars, as I recall, you were actually teaching people to do certain things. Well, there's nothing wrong with us getting a professor to a place where you would establish to teach this stuff.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
So all we would need to do would be to just line somebody up, figure out what the fee is going to be and how much he needs to get paid to be there once a week for X amount of weeks. That's
right, exactly. So, and then you have to, and that wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Just getting them there. I think even us having just an introduction as to what it looks like, and then what this person would teach, and if their businesses would work.
But even so, even beyond that, when we hook up, we're going to hook up with the California Black Chamber this year.
Okay.
And I've already begun talking with Ardrey because he's planning to take some people to South Africa next year.
Okay.
All right. Now, what I told Ardrey we would do is I would work with him on helping to plan the trade mission, but I also want to work with him on creating a trade program for his members.
Yeah.
So that they will be trained in advance on on how to do business internationally before they get on the plane to go to South Africa. Now, if we could, recycling black dollars, could say, for example, do the same thing for their members, with the idea of having a trade mission at the end of it.
That would be fantastic.
All right, to take them, to Africa, to the Caribbean, wherever they might want to go to do business, and then we set up in advance, meetings for them with chambers of commerce, with government officials, with individuals, whatever. All that can be done through consulates here for any country that we want to go to. So we could say, for example, call it the Ethiopian consulate, who will be at our conference this year.
Right.
And we could basically tell them, look, we're training some people who will be ready to go to Ethiopia, say, in February of next year. Can you help us plan a trade mission to Ethiopia for February of next year? They will say yes.
Oh, okay.
All right. And they will get on the phone, and they will begin the process of setting up the meetings that we need. And they will help us with visas and everything else that needs to be done to get the group there.
Okay. And actually, one of the things I'm going to implement is, our millennials who have just come out of college, right? And didn't learn how to run a business. I mean, they learned how to, the theory of business, right, in school. But I want to reach out to that age group because there are a lot of them that have come out of college, and anywhere from the age of 25 or 22 from out of college up to 30, which is that millennial age group, who are interested in starting a business. Now, these are young kids who have this innovative ideas,
the best ones.
Right? And so that's my outreach. I want to outreach them, and I'm going to have an event, or actually a whole workshop series on reaching out to them. Come out and let's talk, because they already got ideas, they're doing gigs, they're doing all that kind of stuff, but now we need to put it in a formal business, and they're at that place where they can leverage up, and scale up, and they don't have any bad habits or fear, and so those could be the ones that we could actually start conditioning.
They're
and
the
then
best
ones, and if they right out of school, if we give them set the buzz and set the flame and then just get them into a certificate program and then they be the ones.
But they could even start businesses while they're in school.
Exactly.
So to help pay for the tuition, because you can do a transaction that'll take care of at least a year of college if you actually do a good transaction. So that is the kind of thing we want to do. The other thing is we want to actually also begin to set up exchange programs where students from the continent of the Caribbean can come here and actually learn as well. The other thing that we're going to be doing this year is we're going to be featuring a project we're working on with the California Black Agriculture Association. We have formally received an approval through the Board of Supervisors for Sacramento County to have access to a 140-acre facility that used to be a juvenile detention facility. And they've agreed to let us turn it into an ag processing.
Oh, my gosh, that's phenomenal.
Agricultural Education and Processing Center.
That's fantastic.
And so we're going to be talking about that project at our conference this year. And we're also going to be, when I'm in Sacramento on Monday, I'm going to be talking to people about the project. But we're going to feature that project at the conference this year, both at Dominguez and at Leimert. So we'll have presentations on that project as well.
Okay.
Now, so both projects, the Leimert Park development and this Ag Processing Center, have potential international trade potential. And so we want to be able to explore that and talk about how it can happen. The Leimert Park Village can do a lot.
Yeah, and actually, and then you got some young men over there that are some new businesses that are full of energy. Those young men that are over at Hot and Cool, just phenomenal. And those are kind of young people that if we could bring those kind of kids in, that would be, and that's who I think we need to be looking at. We're going to take a quick 5-second break so we can bring Gilbert up so he can, he just walked in the door so he can get his little 2 cents in before we end the show. So we'll be right back.
Excellent. Are you contract ready? Are you bank loan ready?
So I want to know how business ready you guys are.
Part of what we want to do is to match you up with contract providers in Vegas, the casinos.
We put together this training for the contractors in Las Vegas to assist them in becoming business ready.
You know, when you first start a small business, the thing you're the shortest on is resources. So the association is actually providing the training free.
Now, Buchanan Associates, they're very well known throughout the U.S., mainly out of the California region, but they have produced so many successful companies that we felt if we brought them here to train our people, that it would allow for that growth because we have so many public works type projects, stadiums that are going to be built slated between now and the next 2 years, prepared to be able to do that work.
You are back to the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert.
That's right.
And our guest, Al Washington from the American U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Africa USA Chamber of Commerce. I'm used to saying it more than you are.
I know, exactly. But you changed the name, didn't you?
No.
Okay.
It's right at the top.
Okay, so he's the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So Al he's going to be doing the next conference in Sacramento.
Oh, yeah? When?
We haven't set the date yet, but we'll start planning. The day this conference is over with, we start planning for Sacramento. But we've already been invited by the California Legislative Black Caucus.
Okay.
And they will partner with us. They will be hosting us in Sacramento.
This is beautiful.
They got an incubator over at Cal State.
That is beautiful.
And they're going to do some EB5.
Oh, wow. Now, is that going to be this year?
This year we're going to be introducing you to the California's EB5 program that nobody knows exists. It's the best kept secret in town.
Yeah.
They actually also have a foreign direct investment program nobody knows about.
Except for Trump. He knows about it because he uses it all the time.
Yeah,
he uses it every day.
Well, the bottom line is we don't know about it.
Yeah, I know.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to be educating people about it, but also we're going to be preparing to take advantage of it next year under the new administration.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're working on that right now.
Excellent.
The California administration.
The new California.
The new California.
Right. But some good stuff.
Yeah, we're actually, but to be honest with you, we're going to have a voter registration booth at our conference this
year.
That's a good idea.
People can start signing up and getting ready for the next administration, which hopefully will be no
monkey business.
Yeah.
In fact, I got an email today. A lot of people on Facebook have set up. I guess you can actually on your Facebook set up a registration.
Please.
So Deborah Thorne has one. Yeah. A couple other people that I saw, Overton, they have one.
That's great.
And she was asking me, have you registered? I said, I am waiting for because I mail in.
Right.
I'm waiting for my mail in, and I'm going to walk it to Norwalk.
Yeah.
I want no funny business between here and Norwalk. I want going to make sure I'm walking. That's what I did with Obama. Right. I walked mine to Norwalk and took it and dropped it in the box myself. So that's exactly what's going to happen in November 6th. I'm walking, I'm getting it, and I'm taking it in.
That's right.
But he's got some great stuff. We just before we went to break, before you came in, we were talking about, I was saying how RBD and the Business Zone can help. So they have a program, a certificate, we're kind of a program at...
What we have is we have 4 departments at Cal State Dominguez Hills that we're working with this year. So we're working with the Merv Diamond Political and Economic Institute, the African Studies Program, the Business Administration and Public Policy College, and the Innovation Incubator.
That's great.
They're all involved in planning our conference this year. They will be involved from this point forward. But they basically are developing the conference that we're going to be doing at Dominguez on the first day.
That is great.
And then we're going to bring some of that over to the work we'll be doing at Leimert Park Village. And James Burke is there. He's going to be adding some additional folks. But we're going to be talking there about the Leimert Park Development Project.
Yes.
And we're also going to talk about a project we're working on in Sacramento County to develop an ag processing education center.
Right.
And then we're going to talk about the EB-5 program. The governor is sending over a rep to talk about that. But we're laying the foundation for what will be an ongoing commitment to work, to do our projects and out of the Leimert Park Village, Cal State Dominguez Hills. But also, we want to set up a relationship with Recycling Black Dollars. And what you do. Because you got the students. We just need to give you some content.
That's right.
And so we want to be able to do that. But if we can do it in collaboration with Dominguez Hills, we also have another education.
That would be fantastic. We can just get the initial interest going and then move them on over to you guys at the same time.
But you'd be surprised. See, what the beauty of this relationship is that the Merv Diamond Institute was involved with our conference from the day one. First day we did it. Okay. All right. In fact, Merv Diamond spoke at our first conference.
Oh, okay. Wow.
All right. He was a keynote speaker. All right. So Anthony Samad is an old friend of mine. I've known him.
Anthony. I actually went to school when before he was Anthony Samad.
Well, I know him when he was president of the LA chapter of the NAACP. That's how long I've known Anthony.
Okay.
And Anthony, right now, that institute allows us with the flexibility of doing everything we've talked about without having to go through the college bureaucracy.
Good job.
So Anthony's on board, and that's why he's going to be involved this year. But the good thing about it is that a lot of what we want to do can be done through the institute, but since he's part of the college, that gives us access to the rest of
which is fantastic.
Which is how it's going to work. So he's doing, as I mentioned, he's going to be doing a breakfast, Urban Issues Breakfast Forum on the first day at 8 a.m. that morning. We start that way. So I'm telling all the visitors, everybody that's coming, it's free. It's always free. But stay for the conference. The cost of the conference, watch this, $30 for everything.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That's $30.
That is amazing.
2 days, $15 a day.
That's nothing.
So
this is some good stuff.
And our goal is not to make money. Our goal is just to pay for cost. The college is picking up cost for the facility. We've got a cost for, Anthony's paying for the lunch, for the breakfast. We got the lunch taken care of. I'm taking care of the reception in the evening. We'll have the food taken care of at the village on the day 2. So all people got to do is give us some money to help pay some bills and show up and learn.
Right.
I think that's a fantastic idea. So you're going to leave some of those flyers with me, right? And then because I got a couple workshops coming up. Do you have it in
electronic version so we can put it online?
Everything is that at the bottom of the flyer. You'll see Pan-African Global Trade Conference. That's our website.
So if we go there, we'll get this flyer.
Get everything.
Perfect.
You get everything. You get all the information. Plus, you can register online.
Beautiful.
And I definitely want to be there on that Friday. The 20? Whenever the guy is coming in about the EB-5.
Well, he's going to be there both days. But he's probably going to he's going to probably make the bulk of his presentation when we're at Leimert Park Village. On the 29th. Sorry, 28th.
28th. So I'm going to be, come over.
That's a Friday, right?
Yes, it is. 28th is a Friday.
Yeah. So before the show.
Yeah, because she's the one that got me into EB-5. I didn't know EB-5 existed.
Oh, really?
Until she said, come to a meeting.
All out a couple years ago, and then
come to the meeting. I got to show you.
Oh, yes.
So
they're doing something amazing.
Perfectly with what you're doing. Exactly. But I definitely want to be on, like I said, RBD, we want to work with millennials and get them young college students that are, coming out to the work world and there's no jobs for them.
Right.
And I think it's perfect to teach them how to be business owners, and then be able to move them into doing global, because they're already thinking that way, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what we want to do. So however we can help, we can sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk
and
about
work out
it.
our strategy.
Plan it out. We'll figure out how we're going to get the university involved. And then right now, the way things are going, I've got Cal State Sacramento and Cal State San Bernardino standing by.
Okay.
So we'll probably be able to have a trifecta going if things work out.
Well, you tell us what we need to do.
Oh, yeah, just let us know what we need to do.
Yeah,
we can get involved.
For both of us, because he does, we both have our area of expertise.
I understand.
And even if we just help to get the foundation of running a business, and then they take it to how we do global and international.
Bottom line is, all we do is we add to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just create an international trade component to what it is you're doing, and that gives you an opportunity to travel.
Oh, I think that's fantastic.
That's how it works.
So let's sit down. And actually, I got some. I put this idea out to CIT, and for them to fund RBD for the training of these young people, and then that component to it would be excellent.
Yeah.
So that really gives it some
Center
extra.
for International Trade Development is actually supposed to be teaching you global logistics and marketing. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Now, so if they're doing their job, a lot of what we talked about will be handled by them.
Okay.
But what we need them to do is to think in terms of Africa or the Caribbean and not just Europe or South America.
Exactly.
Because you got to put that.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources in those areas that they're not even thinking about.
Right. But Center for International Trade Development has actually spoken at one of our conferences.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to be involved with you. We're actually come to the end of our session this Friday.
I didn't even realize.
I know. But it's been everybody Gilbert came in. So, but yeah, let's once you get back from Sacramento and after the Pan-African, but we'll pop by, and then after the Pan-African, we can sit down and talk about a strategy.
Exactly.
And then we can make this happen, because I think that will fill the void for our young people.
Absolutely.
We're already very competitive here, but that opens up whole new windows for them.
Yeah. And they're ready for it.
And they're ready for it, and they just need to have an opportunity.
Exactly.
So that's who we should give that opportunity to.
Exactly.
Al, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
it.
And we definitely want to do it and bring you back on and talk. Don't go anywhere yet. We're going to show up, and then we're going to take a picture with you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to blast and send us. We'll put this on our Facebook page and let everybody know about the conference.
Great.
All righty. So thank you, guys. And so tune in next Friday from 3 to 5 at the Business Zone with Christo
and Gilbert Buchanan.
And we're out for the week.
Excellent. Are you contract ready? Are you bank loan ready?
So I want to know how business ready you guys are.
Part of what we want to do is to match you up with contract providers in Vegas, the casinos.
We put together this training for the contractors in Las Vegas to assist them in becoming business ready.
When you first start a small business, the thing you're shortest on is resources. So the association is actually providing the training free.
Now, Buchanan Associates, they're very well known throughout the U.S., mainly out of the California region, but they have produced so many successful companies that we felt if we brought them here to train our people, that it would allow for that growth, because we have so many public works type projects, stadiums that are going to be built, slated between now and the next 2 years, prepared to be able to do that work.